Welcome everyone to our session today on advanced ChatGPT features. We're specifically going to be focusing on a feature built into ChatGPT called projects, and then how to create custom GPTs. So just so everybody knows, I will be logged into my ChatGPT account. I do have a paid for version. So the features that we're demonstrating here today, you do have to have a paid for version to be able to take full advantage of each of these options. So just so you're aware of all that in the background. But let's talk about ChatGPT and its advanced features. So I know a lot of people already use ChatGPT on a daily basis, but as work becomes really more complex or repeatable, basic one-off prompting that we do in programs like ChatGPT really start to break down. So today we're going to be focusing on two advanced features, projects and custom GPTs, that can really help take that GPT and turn it into a more reliable, more structured, more scalable assistant rather than just a quick answer tool. Now, by the end of this session, you should clearly understand why one-off prompting, which is when we go to type in a prompt and we get back an answer, why that has limitations when it comes to business context. And you'll see when projects will be the right tool for ongoing work, or when a custom GPT may be better for repeatable tasks. This isn't about memorizing features. It's more about learning a practical decision rule that you can apply right away to the real work that you do. So rather than relying on prompt tricks and rewriting instructions every single time you want to do the same thing over and over again, which is exactly what I used to do, projects and custom GPTs can really help create structure. So if you think back on when we started using these AI tools, ChatGPT, programs like that, we would put in a prompt, we would press enter, we'd get the results of whatever we were asking it in that prompt. The next time we wanted to do that same thing, we'd have to redo it again. So that's what we refer to as a one prompt. But what we're going to be seeing today is how more efficient projects and custom GPTs can be. So projects are going to act more like a workspace where content builds over time, and custom GPTs can act like purpose-built assistants. They're tasks that repeat again and again. So the goal is to move from ad hoc use for business workflows into more of a ready-to-use solution. So as we kind of go through these different features with projects and custom GPTs, I want you to be thinking about how you're currently using ChatGPT. So what are you currently doing in there? What are some, restrictions that you have come across? And kind of piece together if projects or custom GPTs will be better for you. So we'll start by looking at why one-off prompting breaks down, then explore projects for work that really evolves, I should say, and custom GPTs for standard tasks. Then we'll finish with adoption and governance so that we can use the tools that are responsible and use them with confidence when it comes to working with our business information. So current ChatGPT usage and its limitations. When we think about what most people use ChatGPT for, it's like a search engine. We ask it a question, get an answer, and we move on. That works well at first. And I remember when all of these AI tools came out, I thought that was fantastic to use it like a search engine. So yes, that works great at first, but it creates friction when tasks repeat, when consistency matters, or when multiple people are involved. This is where the limitations really start to show with that one-off prompting that we do. So most users interact with ChatGPT by asking a question, getting that answer, and like I said, moving on, doing another question with it over and over again. Well, that is great. The effective is simple. It does a quick, gives you the answer super quick, and it's not going to give you consistency. It's not going to help you with the collaboration side that you may be missing. So when you start to think about how you're currently using this application and where it might be falling short for you, I want you to be thinking about, as we demonstrate projects and we demonstrate how a custom GPT works today, I want you to be thinking about, are these the solutions I've been missing? So this section sets up the need for a more structured solution by really highlighting those limitations that we have with those one-off chats. So yes, they're intuitive, they're fast, but they don't retain memory. They don't have rules. They don't have standards. Every new chat really resets, which means we have to re-explain ourselves all the time. So every time we want the same thing, we're going back and redoing it, which is fine with simple questions, but not in business where we have the need for consistency. So what is a one-off chat? One-off chats are really this standalone conversation. There's no saved role. There's not a consistent tone that the system is bringing back, and no shared context beyond what we type in that one chat. Once you close it or start a new chat, everything resets. One-off chats are best for quick, truly one-time tasks. So let's see an example of what a one-off chat looks like. So let's say that I want to get a quick response on having some data and I need it rewritten. I want the system, the chat GPT, to rewrite a paragraph to have it sound more professional. Now, I'm just going to do some copying and pasting of this so I don't have to rewrite it. But in my GPT, my chat GPT, of course, I'm sure you're familiar with how all this works. On the left-hand side is your navigation pane. On the right-hand side is, it's asking me right now, what's on your mind today? And we can just go to where it says ask anything. You can either click on the microphone and talk with it, or you can simply type in what it is that you want it to give you an answer on. So I have this paragraph that I want GPT to rewrite to have it sound more professional for me. So I input the content, I click the send button, and it will automatically do that for me. That's fantastic that it can do that. I could be asking it to summarize an email, give me ideas for a team meeting, icebreaker. I could ask it questions like, how do I do a pivot table in Excel? Those are these one-off chatting that we have been doing since we were introduced to these GPTs, to Copilot, to ChatGPT, to Gemini or Genesis, those types. Of course, there's millions of AI tools out there these days. So yes, it can give you that answer, but it's a one-time answer. If the next day I needed to do another paragraph, or let's say that I'm asking it to summarize this email, and I give it the email that I want it to summarize, or if I'm connected to my Outlook or my Gmail or whatever, I can say summarize this email, and it can do that. But what if I wanted to do that again the next day? We don't have a lot of consistency with the things that we may want it to do all the time. Now, you're going to see some really workable examples here today, things that I personally am already using, things that I feel I probably can't get through my day now without. you know, Back in the day, yes, I thought it was fantastic to move from me having to do all the research and do all the legwork. Then I thought it was fantastic that we got ChatGPT to do it for us. But now it's getting even better, because these GPTs are actually smarter than they've ever been before. And I'm going to tell you, there's going to be a lot of changes here in 2026 on improvements on how things are being done, how it's analyzing everything. So instead of having it do a one-step analysis, it actually does multi-step reasoning, and it does actions, not just response. It can actually start to do actions instead. So the results that we get out of ChatGPT really do provide that quick answer, but the context is not really saved where I can go back and redo that chat without having to rewrite it or retalk it into the system. And the output can vary every single time. Well, especially if you're asking it to summarize this email, it might be a different email. But if I'm asking it to do, rewrite this paragraph, and it's the same paragraph, the next time it does it, it actually might give me a totally different way that it's doing it. So we want to be really kind of taking advantage of what it is that ChatGPT has built in that is going to make our lives a lot easier. Seriously, a lot easier. So the one thing to think about, though, is what one-off chats are not. It's important to be clear on this because they aren't projects, they aren't custom GPTs, and they aren't workflows. They're transactional, good for quick answers, but not designed for systematic or team-based work like projects are. There's a reason it's called projects is because you can work together with other people and gather information together. And it can all stay in one central location. Pretty cool that we have these abilities. Now, of course, we'll get to some demonstrations on how all of those work so that you can get a better understanding how you may use them. But why one-off prompts break down is they're forced to repeat, I should say, forced to repeat the context. We have to fix the tone that we wanted to use. We always have to re-upload files over and over again. So let's say that I have a chat that I do with ChatGPT that is related to an Excel workbook that is accounting information. And every morning I need to ask ChatGPT to look at this file and let me know how many new records were added, what the status is of this particular column, etc. And I'm doing that over and over on a regular basis. A one-off prompt, this one-off chatting that we do, is not going to work. I would have to do that same chat every single day. Every time I want it, I would have to retype it in and I would have to reattach that file. We don't have to do that with a custom GPT or depending on what we're using within our projects as well. So these limitations become sufficient in business environments where we need accuracy, we need to be able to work as a team. These kind of features are very essential in business. So this section ties these challenges into real-world business scenarios where we can have client communications, we can have project management, we can have reporting, all that ChatGPT can do for us. So they are going to work best, these one-off chats are going to work best for quick answers, non-repeating tasks, brainstorming or thinking out loud. Consistency doesn't matter, and where no need to reuse it later. Okay, so it's okay for these other features for other purposes, but ChatGPT projects are for ongoing work. So we can create a project, give it instructions, reference files in the project, and have the same prompts and get better results. So ChatGPT project is going to be a dedicated workspace for work that evolves over time. Instead of isolated conversations, projects really is going to let ChatGPT retain content. It's going to reference files and follow shared instructions across multiple chats. Okay. So ChatGPT projects are going to provide a dedicated space that we can chat. We can have shared files, and we're going to give it instructions so that together we can have ongoing work that is more consistent. So it is designed for tasks that evolve over time, require persistent content, and is beneficial for sharing with resources. So think of projects as a container for related work that includes your chats, your files, the instructions. They all live together in one happy place. Makes it much easier to resume work, collaboration, and maintain that consistency without starting from scratch every single time like we do with the one-off chatting. Okay. Some key capabilities of ChatGPT projects. Projects provide that persistent content, the shared reference files because we can upload files into the project level instructions, so it follows its own set of rules, and multiple conversations can be in one workspace together. Content builds over days and over weeks and over months as you are using it, meaning we have this ongoing. So why use projects? Well, projects save time because you stop re-explaining yourself. Every time that you want to do something, we don't have to go back and redo it over and over again. We will have the files, the instructions, the prior conversations to stay together. So ChatGPT already knows the content when we come back in to the project. They also work together repeatedly over time. We're going to have this same information available all the time. So every day that I go in there, it's always the same information that is there. Finally, projects help you stay organized. Instead of one long chat history, we can actually separate work into projects like client ABC or coursework build, each with its own content. So projects are designed for ongoing work where content builds over time, over weeks, not one-time questions like we get with the one-time chatting. Okay, so let's actually take a look at a few examples before I demonstrate how you build this, how this is all going to work for you. So a couple of examples for you to create a project. So on the left-hand side of the navigation pane in ChatGPT, we're going to go to project and create a new project. Then the name of the project that we give it will appear on the left-hand side. So a couple of examples that I have listed here for you, which by the way, in your handouts, Matthew had mentioned that the handouts are available back in the chat. Don't forget to download that handout. Now, if you want to be following along in it, you most certainly can today, but it's really kind of a reference tool for you to use after we get done. It's going to include step-by-step instructions on doing the things that we're doing right now, plus it's going to give you the examples that I'm talking about, plus more. I didn't put every single example in a slide for you. I did put them in your handout just to help you brainstorm, because it depends on what your role is with the company as to how you're actually going to work with these features. So just so you know, when it comes to each of these different examples, sorry, for some reason it jumped ahead there. I'm still struggling with a bad head cold and a bad wrist, and so I can't use my mouse very well. So I think I might have accidentally clicked. Sorry about that. But here's a couple of examples. So you could create a project for a marketing launch where it can include project instructions, list resource files to upload, provide starter prompts, and explain how the project works or why the project works. Another example is client name, ABC, whatever your client is, ongoing engagement project, where you could be tracking information that is related to consulting, the project manager role, structured output like your status, your risks, your next steps, your WBS, your deliverables, all of that. Files and starter prompts could be included in that. Number 3 is courseware project, instructional designer role, defined learning lectures. So if you're in HR and you're responsible for doing some training on fire safety or whatever the case might be, definitely want to have a place that you could do collaboration. Another example is research and writing project. So a research assistant editor role, outline the first draft guidance. Example number 5, I see my bullet is weird, but trip planning project. So let's say that your organization is actually going to be hosting an event at a hotel in a different city, and you're going to have all these presentations going on and whatnot. You could have planning instructions, you could have budget and preference constraints, travel focused startup prompts. So be kind of thinking about what it is that you're working on and how a project may fit in for what it is that you do. So how do we create a project? Well, we actually go to ChatGPT. So here in ChatGPT, on the left-hand side, under this category called projects, you can see I don't have any projects listed under that category as of right now, but let me show you how this works. So what you would want to do is click New Project. Then the first thing that you want to do is give the project a name. So depending on which project, what type of project it is you're doing, oops, sorry. There goes my hand again. Let's say then I'm going to be doing a marketing launch project. I could name my project that name. Then when I create, or it could be marketing launch, whatever I wanted to name it. Then what you do is you add in the project instructions. So we want to be able to take all this information and have it available for us to be able to use. So let me walk through and tell you how you could put this together. Okay, so I'll show you here. So if you wanted to follow along with me, you most certainly could. But what I'm going to do, sorry, I'm trying to get my mouse back to my project here. So let's say that I did want to call this marketing launch. We're going to be launching a brand new project. I'm actually working with an organization that was just bought out by another company. So we're doing all kinds of things right now, having to change all of our domain and everything over. So I'm going to go ahead and click Create Project. Okay. So once you create the project, okay, you can actually be in the project automatically. So you can see right at the top, it says Marketing Launch. And if I click on the name Marketing Launch at the top, you can see I can go into the project settings. From the project settings, we can be adding in instructions. You can see that it's actually telling you set content and customize how ChatGPT responds in this project. So if I had project instructions that I wanted to put in, like, you are my marketing operations partner, keep answers skimmable, headings and bullets. When I ask for content, provide 2 versions, one short, one long. Ask clarifying questions if information is missing. So I could put in whatever I need for the instructions to let ChatGPT know what they should do by default when we are chatting with it. Now also notice that there is a memory option here. It's currently selected on default, which I'm going to keep it that way, where project can access memories from outside chat and vice versa. That cannot be changed as of today. Okay. If I go back into a project and I want to delete it, I could click the delete button, but I want to save the changes that I just did to this project. So I'm clicking save, and now we have this project available. You're going to see 2 tabs down at the bottom. One is going to be for the chats. The other is going to be for sources. Sources is going to be related to the files that we want to upload. So if you have any reference files, you upload the files once they are available in every conversation in the project. So if I am chatting with the system and I ask it a specific, like if I have tone guidelines that I wanted to use. I could start working on the project and give it different information, like different starter prompts. And every time that I attach a file and, say reference this file or things like that, it's going to automatically add those to that resources. So let me give you a few examples. So starter prompts that I might do. Let's say that I want ChatGPT to create a launch brief. So let me bring that in. So I'm going to put in, I wanted to create a launch brief with goals, audience, key messages, channels, and success metrics. That's going to stay a part of this project because I'm on this project as I am creating these. You could see, if you notice on the left-hand side, it says marketing launch, and then it says launch brief template. So it's automatically saving that. Okay. So just so you're aware of how that piece of it works. So, oops, sorry. There goes my hand again. But just so you could see what it came back with for results. So below is the launch brief template. So here's the launch overview, the goals, the target audience, everything that I had asked for it to include. This is all now part of that project. Now, if I go back to that project again by going to the left-hand side into that marketing launch, let's say that I want to do something that's going to reference a file. So let's say, and I'm going to click the plus sign, and I'm going to click on add photos and files so that you can get a better idea as to how it can actually work with files. So let me go into, let me see. Let me go into training documents, and I'm going to go into project, where's my project management, and I want it to take a look at this chaos, clutter, and control document. And I want to be asking ChatGPT, is this document going to help end users get more organized? Just so you can see how this would work. So you put in a chat that is related to that, then you go ahead and attach a file, and it's going to come back with the answer. Yes, the document can help end users get more organized. It works well for clear problem framing, practical framework. Where it falls short is the length and the redundancy, limited step-by-step workflows. So it's going to give you different information. So there's the bottom line. So all of this is being saved as part of that project. I do not know how many times in the past before projects was added to ChatGPT that I would have to go back to my history of all my old chats. Oh yeah, here's that one that is related to what I was talking about 2 days ago. And now I have to go to another one that was related to the same topic, but they were different chats because, they were slightly different, but they're all still part of the marketing launch, but they weren't in order and kept organized together. So we want to be able to have things easy for us to get to, easy for others to get to as well. So just so you could see, I'm going to go back to the project, the marketing launch, I should say, over on the left-hand side. And notice when I go to that, there's this ... menu. If you click on that menu, you can manage your project. One of the ways that you can manage it is by sharing it. So if the marketing launch is something that I'm not just working on by myself, these are resources that I want to share with my coworker that's helping me with this. I could go ahead and do that. So I put in the email address of everybody that I want to share this with. I don't think it's going to find you, Matthew, under my account, but let me put in my student one just so everybody could see. Okay, it's not finding it very quickly. I'll just physically type it in. Add virtual training, co.com. And then I could put in a comment and add in more people, but I can always add in more people at any time. So on the right-hand side, I can choose what their permission levels are going to be. Can they chat? Can they edit? And if they can edit, they can chat too. So I'm going to keep it on the default settings, and I'm going to click invite. Okay, so they're going to actually receive an invite. I could copy a link and put it someplace if I wanted to as well. There's different ways that we can share that with others. So it's going to show up on their left-hand side. They're going to have exactly what we see. We're going to see exactly what they see. So if they add in a new chat or they add in a file and that kind of a thing, it's automatically going to give us that information. So now when we're in this marketing launch, so I'm actually in the project right now, you can see the name of it up at the top and you can see the two chat sources. If I click on source, give ChatGPT more content, I can click add to add my sources. So what sources do I need? Maybe we're working on some logos. Maybe we have some marketing material that we're doing. I could come back and I could be uploading any of that information that we need. So I'm going to just select a couple of items just to give you an idea. I'm going to add these files in so that everybody that I share this with will have access to that content. Just so you know, that's in the background, that's how that's going to work. Okay, so Matthew, I'm sorry. Now I'll come back to you. Did someone have a question that I can answer?
Yeah, we actually have two questions. We
Good.
have actually quite a few people out wondering about document sharing and privacy around that. I was thinking we'll save that for the Q&A. So for those
Okay.
of you interested in that, maybe we'll stick around for the Q&A. We'll tackle that. It's a big question. And then I got another question asking which subscription, which license do you have with ChatGPT? Are you with Go, Plus, or Pro?
Okay, so you do have to have certain licenses to be able to use this. You cannot have the free version. So you can see that I under my Jolene's account, I do have a paid for version. It's a personal one. It's not the Teams one. So anything that is above the free version, you will have access to being able to do these. So if you have an environment, I'm sorry, a business account of any kind or paid for, I paid $20 a month, whatever, you could do that as well. You could have a business account, a Teams account, all kinds. Okay, but
Great.
not the free. Okay,
Perfect.
yes, and we'll tackle that other question at the end. All
Great.
right,
Thank you.
so I can't tell you how much I love having this central location to be able to do this collaborating. So if we already know we need to be doing brainstorming, we're going to be, chatting with these specific things, we need these files to be referencing in our chats, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to do it with a project here in ChatGPT. There is really no question about how I'm going to do it. That's my go-to. So you want to be putting in instructions so that it understands what tone and things like that you want it to be using. So we put it in, use concise professional language, always include a summary, risks, and next steps. Put in those instructions when you create that so that it understands what it should be doing. So some best practices for effective projects: write good instructions once. You can always come back and change it, but it helps to get them good the first time around. Upload only the most important files. This is not a document storage facility. Use multiple chats inside one project. Move older chats into projects. So if you already had a project, by the way, you can, if you already had a chat, you can actually drag and drop it into a project. Treat projects as long-term workspaces. So think of it as the central collaboration tool that you can be storing chats where if somebody asks ChatGPT a question, others will be able to come back and feed off of that question as well. Yes. And Matthew, yes, I'm using the plus. So reference files can be an important piece of this too, so that they can be reused across all the chats that we're doing within that project. Okay. That really helps eliminate the fact that we have to keep going back and uploading them as we do things. So same prompt, better results. We're going to get consistent output. It's going to be aligned with the content, and it's a simplified prompting option. We're prompting about the same subject. We are prompting about the same documents. We don't have to keep adding those over and over again like we would with a one time with the one time. So use these for things like client engagement, internal audits or initiatives, courseware or training builds, research and documentation, planning work that evolves over time. That list can really be endless on what it is you could be using projects for. Okay, so that's one of your options. The next option is actually going to be creating custom GPTs for repeatable tasks. So what if I have these tasks that I don't really need things to go into a workspace? I'm asking the same prompts over and over again on a regular basis. We can use either pre-built custom GPTs that are already in ChatGPT, or we can actually create our own. And I started with using the ones built in. Now I'm actually creating my own. So custom GPTs are really this purpose-built assistant designed for repeatable tasks. They deliver consistent outputs by embedding rules, setting the tone we wanted to use, the formatting that the assistant is going to use. We give it all the details. Custom GPTs are great for tasks such as meeting summaries, executive emails, policy Q&A, where standardization and that reliability are very critical. So they embed the role, the tone, the formatting, and the rules directly within the assistant. That is going to help remove variabilities between users and really reinsure the consistent output that we will get from those tasks we want it to do. So what you can configure with a custom GPT, the role and the purpose, where we define the GPT, what the GPT does and how it should behave. So an example would be, you are an executive communications assistant. The tone and the style that we wanted to use concise, professional, business-ready language. Or the output format we wanted to use, summarize using bullet points with clear action items. Rules and constraints: do not speculate or create content outside the provided information. We can also upload files that the GPT should rely on. So if we have 2026 policies, templates, branding guidelines, standard operating procedures, those types of things, those can be attached to the custom GPT so it knows to reference those files when we are using the built-in prompts. I got the shivers even thinking about this. This to me is the most fantastic tool in the world. I love it. So anyway, a couple of examples before we walk through building one together and how all this works. But example one is executive email drafting. So repeatable task. And the business challenge is leaders regularly send emails that must be concise, professional, and action-oriented. One-off prompts lead to inconsistent tone and formatting depending on who writes the prompt. Because in the prompt, if they don't tell it to, be concise, professional, and do this action-oriented, we have to give it all that detail every single time. We don't want to have to do that. We want it to be consistent. So why a custom GPT would be the right tool to use in this regards? The task repeats and requires consistency every single time. So how the custom GPT is configured, we give it the role, we give it the tone, we give it the output. We're going to tell it what it is the rules are for when we prompt it. This is the rules to use. The business benefits is consistent executive voice, reduced drafting and editing time, reliable results across users. These custom GPTs have become my best friend. Another example, just to give you an idea, meeting summarization standards. So the business challenge: meeting notes are captured differently by each person, making it difficult to track decisions and action items. Why a custom GPT is the right tool? Summarizing meetings in a repeatable task with a fixed structure. how it is configured, required sections, key decisions, action items, risks or follow-ups, and the rules do not assume or do not add assumptions and or I should say new information. The benefits, standardized summaries, improved accountability, easier sharing and follow-up. So policy and Q&A assistant is the example we're going to do today. So I'm going to walk you through how you can create a policy Q&A assistant. So the business challenge for this example, employees ask policy questions and receive inconsistent answers based on who responds or how prompts are written. So if they write it different than the next person, it's going to be a totally different answer. So why a custom GPT is the right tool? The answers must be consistent and grounded in approved documentation. How the custom GPT is configured, uploaded policy documents is what it's referencing. Rule is only or answer only using the provided policy. The tone is clear, neutral, and factual. The business benefits is the reduced misinformation, faster access to reliable answers, increased trust, and use a custom chat GPT when a task repeats and consistency matters more than flexibility. So let's take a look at how to create one of these. So we're going to do the example of the policy Q&A assistant just to give you an idea as to how this could be done. I just want you to have, an example, something that you can kind of see in action. So we're going to call this Policy Q&A Assistant. So let me jump to I got to get my mouse back here. Sorry. So I'm still in that project that I had created earlier. I'm going to go to the left-hand side and click on GPTs. And in the GPTs, this is like a GPT store. You're going to have GPTs that are already here that you could start using. Here's the most popular GPTs in the community. So if you want to use one of these, like Write for Me, it can help supercharge your writing assistant. So if you want a GPT to help you write things or work with you on fitness or generate images, etc., these are GPTs that are built in that you can start using today. They are an assistant to ChatGPT. But if you want to create your own, that's what we're going to do right now because we want it to be specific to our organization. You go to the top right of this window, click Create. You have two choices. You have two tabs at the top on the left-hand side. You have Create and Configure. I'm going to start with Configure so you know the pieces that need to go into this. You can see when you look at this list going down, it's got a place for the name. I'm going to put in Policy Q&A Assistant. We're going to put in what is going to be the description. So what is going to be the purpose of this is we want to have a custom GPT that answers employee policy questions consistently. So let me put in a description of what you might have. And by the way, before I come in to create these, I usually do a little planning ahead. I actually created a template with a screenshot of this so that I can actually know this is what I need to prep for prior to coming in and creating it. So what I just put in here is answer employee policy questions consistently using approved policy documents only, use clear, and I'm just kind of giving it a description of what it is. But it's in the instructions is where you go to tell it, what does this GPT do, how does it behave, and what should it avoid doing? So you want to put in the different fill in the blanks. So let me give it a little bit of instruction here, and I'm copying and pasting. So I've got the role, and this is how I usually lay it out. So in my template that I'm building, kind of doing my brainstorming, I have my placeholders for what's the role, what's the rule, what's the tone I wanted to use, and I kind of have these others as well as I'm building these so I know what I need to fulfill in the instructions. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to put that in there. There's conversation starters that you can be putting in as well. But the big thing is you want to be able to come back and test this. So you could see that there's other information down below. I could upload files. So if I had a specific file or 10 files that I wanted to have it always refer to, I could come in and upload files. These are things that you could always come back to. So you can always come back and put in any files, put in any suggested user prompts that you want them to have. Any of that can be added back in at any time. So like if I wanted to have any, kind of suggested prompts or anything like that, these would be conversation starters. Let me just put in a couple just to give you some ideas of how this is going to look. So I'll put in a couple of different conversation starters, which are your suggested prompts. Okay. And I'm just doing a little bit of a copy paste here. I'll just put 3 in there for right now. So what does the remote work policy allow? Are personal devices allowed in company email? What is the data retention requirements? So we could have these as prompts that are available all the time. Now, of course, we can always come back and make changes to this. You could see down below after the upload files, I could use a recommended model when we talk about, 5.2, deeper analysis, those types of things. If I want to create any action items, I could do that, but we'll kind of save that for a more advanced class. But you could see on the right-hand side, this is a preview of what it's actually going to look like, just so you're aware. Now, before I actually click create, up at the top of this, there's this plus sign. That is where you could add in an image. Now, I do have a slide that I'll show you in a moment, giving you the guidelines for if you go to add an image, there's some limits of size and stuff like that. So I'll talk about that here in a minute. But just so you know, you can click on the plus sign at the top of this, click upload photo, and you can have a little icon size be added in for the logo for this custom GPT. So on the right-hand side, you can see I have this little cube. That's the generic icon. If you add a different photo, of course, that will appear. You could see the name of it, you could see the description, and then here's those, the instructions, or I should say the conversation starters, the prompts that I gave it. Just so you could see it's a preview. On the top right, I'm going to click create. So once I have it all done, I'm going to go ahead and click create. Now, one of the things that is absolutely fantastic about this is the fact that you can share these custom GPTs with your coworkers. So let's say that you're creating a GPT because you're in HR. And we want to have a GPT that's going to be available for everybody in the company they can ask questions like, how do I change this, my health insurance? How do I change my deductibles, or whatever your case might be? You can really use that as an example where we can have that consistency coming back. But anyway, just so you can see, I'm not going to make any changes to this. I'm going to click save. So anyone that has the link that I would share with them, I'm not going to share it with anybody right now, but I could copy the link and then I could go in and view the GPT. So I'm going to click view the GPT. So I'm going to close this little window. Right now you can see on the left-hand side, under the GPTs category, it now shows my policy Q&A assistant. So let's say that I actually go back to a previous chat. Just to give you an idea, I go back to a previous chat, or I'm chatting with something new, and I'm out here asking ChatGPT a question, whatever. And I need to go into that policy Q&A assistant. I go to the left-hand side, it's automatically been added. Once you click on it, it's going to automatically open it. You can see the icon at the top, the name of it. You know who created the custom GPT. You'll see the description, then you'll see those suggested prompts. So if I wanted, now keep in mind, I did not attach any policies. I did not attach any policies, but what if I had? When I ask it, what does the remote work policy allow? It would be referencing the policy that I had attached to that custom GPT. Now, how wonderful is that? Now, If you're wondering, have you ever seen or used something like this? I bet you have. I just used something like this when I actually ordered some essential oils from Amazon. And when my envelope arrived, it was empty and it wasn't even sealed. It was a brand new envelope with my information on it, but no product. So I went in to help to the chat and was chatting with an assistant where it automatically was prompting actions like my order numbers, looking at things like that. And then it had these suggested prompts that I could use. That's exactly what these are. Now, Amazon's is on a little bit bigger of a scale, but these are the types of suggested prompts that you could have available that you can develop today. You could be creating these today. You don't have to worry about, being an expert and being very technical for something as easy as what we just did. Okay. Now, how does it work? Well, if I click on allow personal or are personal devices allowed for your company email? It's going to tell me this information is not available in the provided documents. That's because I didn't upload any documentation for it to reference. So of course, you want to have your current policies, but you need to have reminders so that you remember if the policy changes, it has to be changed in these custom GPTs. So it doesn't just get changed one place. You have to make sure that if something is new, we add it in there. Now we have this new email policy. We have this new AI policy, those kind of things. You need to make sure that you go back and update them. Now that was just one brief example. I'm going to go back to the left-hand side here real quick where I have my policy Q&A assistant. I have a more menu, the dot, dot, dot. If you click on that, you can hide it from the sidebar. And on the top right, if I wanted to go back and share it again, I could go to share or click on the drop down menu next to it for more options. And I could archive, I could delete, report the conversation, or I could delete the conversation. So a lot of times I'm going back in and I need to change my permissions, that kind of thing, add other people, just so you can always come back in. Now, there's a lot of other things that we'll walk through with this, but I do want to mention there's another way we could have created that. I want to go back into Explore GPTs real quick. So just so you can see, at the top right is My GPTs. At the top right, next to Create is My GPTs. If you created a GPT previously, here's where you're going to find it. So here's my policy Q&A. I can edit from here. I can't edit from those other menus. Once you come into Explore GPTs, you have access to your My GPTs. That's where you would go in and edit. But I want to create a new one. So I'm going to click Create, and I'm going to go to the Create tab, because I got to be honest that most of the time, I don't go into Configure. Some of the times, I just want to tell it. I just want to talk to it. Down here at the bottom where it says ask anything, I can talk to it or type in what it is that I want it to create. So I can tell it I want it to create a custom GPT. This GPT will be used for repeated tasks, blah, blah, blah. I can give it all the detail. I can say, here's the rules and behavior. Here's my tone. I want it to be clear. I want it to be neutral. The purpose of this, I could give it all this detail. So all of my brainstorming before I come in, that's what I copy and paste in. Just so you know, I do that. Then I click Send. Just like you normally chat with something, you click Send. It will ask you if you want to add anything more to it, blah, 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 as it's creating it, but it is going to create it for you. It's going to suggest a name. You can accept the name, give it your own name. You can always go to Configure and make changes to it. Always go back. You can always change things at any time. Remember, go to My GPTs at the top right. But just so you can see what it's going to come back and do. Just love this. So it's going to give you a preview of it on the right-hand side. It's generating the profile picture right now, doing a few other things in the background, just so you can see that it's doing that. But boy, I got to tell you, these are my best friends. So while it's finishing up here, So it's asking me, here's the initial profile picture that it can create. Would you like any changes to this? I could see on the right-hand side, this is what it pulled out of what I wanted it to do. I'm going to click create. I'm going to save. It automatically now has this policy Q&A assistant controlled. I'm going to click view GPT. It's now available on my left-hand side. Now, I had mentioned that there were some rules to this. Let me get back to my PowerPoint here real quick. There were a couple of rules that I wanted to mention. So sorry, my hand is not working very well. There we go. So just so you know, you want to create the policy and then fill in the different uh, what suggested prompts do you want, add any files, those kind of things. But if you're going to add in a picture, here's the guidelines. Now, of course, you can always ask ChatGPT for these, but use these guidelines when you upload an image based on this size, based on these file formats. Maximum size is 20 meg. Design tips, it's got the best practices. Use 512 by 512 PNG. The ping under 1 meg is going to be the most reliable. So kind of think of the icon, the ICO type file, that's the best to use, just so you're aware. So advanced usage of ChatGPT is very essential. One-off chats versus using projects, to me, there's no comparison. If I just want to ask it one thing one time, that's what I use. If I want to collaborate, have this central location, I can work with my coworkers, I'm going to use projects. So when to use projects versus a custom GPT? Well, projects are a workspace for ongoing work. Custom GPTs are a tailored assistant for repeatable tasks. So when it comes to choosing the right tool, make sure that you're thinking about your overall usage. Do you just want to ask it once? Or you're going to be working with multiple people and you want to have files that you're going to be going into? Do you want it to be where you're going to store multiple chats of, all together and work on a team as a team together? Or is this something that I want to have a daily chat that I'm going to be using? So you want to really think about what's going to be best for you. So something to try for tomorrow, create a project. Add simple instructions, identify repeatable tasks, and if they're repeatable tasks, use custom GPTs. Now, Matthew, I am so sorry. I could go on forever with all of this going on. It is, to me, something so fantastic. I wish this was a 10-hour class.